Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hello, welcome. My name is Alex, and I'm the General Manager of Unite Health, Australia's #1 Pilates education provider. We're so excited to be bringing you our Pilates Pillow Talk series this evening. Tonight is episode 1, and we are getting up close and personal with co-founder and co-CEO of Upstate Studios, Gail Asbell. Now, if you're based in Victoria, Australia, you'll no doubt be familiar with the Upstate brand. Think iconic yellow branding, huge neon smiley faces, epic studio fit outs, and of course, a reputation for delivering the good vibes with a massive range of mat, reformer, boxing, and yoga classes. If you haven't had the chance to get into the studio, you might know the Upstate Sport brand, which is Upstate's very own activewear creation, aiming to bring playfulness and empowerment together through apparel. Gail and her sister Sherelle created the Upstate brand in 2009, setting out with a mission to help people find a positive state of mind through movement and connection. Today, Upstate is one of the fastest growing Pilates studio brands in the country. And tonight we are so excited to hear this incredible story straight from the source and so grateful to have Gail joining us live. Welcome, Gail.
Hey, Alex, just get my camera on here. Here we
Hello.
go. Hey, everyone.
So great to have you. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Gail. I know we were chatting offline and, it's sort of sorting out the footy training and the dog. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So thank you so much for making time to be here. We've only got half an hour of power, so I'm going to dive straight in. Could you start by sharing a little more about the origins of Upstate?
Yeah, so as you said, we opened our first studio in 2009, and we being my sister and I. Look, we really didn't come from a background of fitness. We were both in corporate. I'd have always worked in branding and marketing. And yeah, tragically, we had, an awful time in our family where our brother was actually passed away in a car accident, and my sister and I both turned to yoga. And we were living in different cities, and neither of us actually knew we were both practicing yoga as a way of dealing with what had happened until we started chatting one day. We were both doing lots of yoga, and that was actually almost 20 years ago. So to set the scene, then there was like no Lululemon in Australia. Like yoga was very hit and miss. You know, some studios were very spiritual, some were really physical practices, and we both headed over to the US and did our training in the States, and just saw what was happening over there at that time, where yoga was actually reasonably more consistent, I guess, and more accessible, and a more modern style of yoga. And yeah, we sort of hatched a plan that this is what we wanted to do, was set up a studio, and kind of the rest is history. We probably did it from the outset thinking it would be something while I was pregnant when we opened the studio. We kind of thought it'd be something we'd do while we had young kids, but just absolutely fell in love with, instructing and building a community and a team, and here we are now.
Oh my gosh. It's so incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all of that as well. It's so awesome to hear that sister duo and dynamic behind the brand. And having those roots in yoga is so fascinating. At what point did you sort of start to work into the Pilates space?
Yeah, well, I guess it kind of just, I would say like the whole business has really developed organically. We've never had a master plan, but we've kind of just followed where our body and our personal journey has taken us. So when we first opened our first studio, it was all yoga or hot yoga. And as I said, I was pregnant, and probably after I had my second child, I was having a lot of pelvic instability. And I think because I was actually just doing so much yoga, especially in the heat, it was not helping me get that stabilization of the joints and the pelvis that Pilates is so well known for. So I was recommended to do Pilates. And again, that was, my daughter's now 15. So, it was a while ago, and similar to what we found with yoga, I went across to do Pilates, and I was like, oh, wow. Like the experience was, variable across studios. There even wasn't many studios at that time. A lot was very clinical, physio based. And straight away, I resonated with the practice of Pilates, and I felt the changes in my body immediately. But I didn't love the experience of the physio-led one or two people in a class. So kind of almost the same thing happened, where we decided with yoga to kind of present it in a real modern way and teach it in big group classes. We got the idea with Pilates that, like, let's let's take all the principles of this amazing practice and the benefits to the body, but teach it in a different group style that wasn't around so much at that time.
Oh my gosh, I love how you say it was so organic. One of those
Yeah, totally.
at the time it might feel that way, and then you look back, you're like, wow, there was so much, like such a pathway there. Um,
Yes.
how is it working with your sister? I obviously personally know Sherelle as well. I know she's just as incredible as you are, co-founders, co-CEOs, but that's a lot, for a sister duo to be leading a business and also having such personal journeys intertwined with the professional side as well. How does that go?
Yeah, no, look, I first up, I just don't know if I could ever have a business on my own. I think it's so nice to share the journey with someone, and then that someone being a sibling is amazing because, we're very family values, and we share the same values. You've got each other's back. And at the end of the day, we're there for each other as much as we are for the business. So like, I feel super lucky. I don't know that Upstate would ever be what it would be without doing it together. And we operate really differently as well. Like, I've always been, we really split our roles, I guess, and don't dive too much into each other's worlds too much. We really give each other the autonomy to work in our own spaces. So Sherelle's very process driven. So she's always been operations. Whereas I've always been more brand marketing and I guess the vision of scaling and developing. So we've like, it's kind of been a nice yin and yang to support each other in that way. I think if I didn't have someone working on all the detail and the processes around my vision, then I'm not sure Upstate would be where it is either. Yeah, that worked really well. It's just hard. I think the hardest thing is just trying to balance still remembering to hang out as sisters and do things together that are fun and with your kids and with your families. So making space to stop talking about Upstate, which is a bit rare.
That must be tricky because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you possibly have other family members, definitely friends working in the business as well. So
yeah, our nieces have both got into the business now, and my daughter's super keen to be an instructor. So yeah, look, it has, it sort of does take over the family conversation a little bit, but the good thing is, like, our family all do the classes. They love it. My elder sister's just been on one of our retreats last week and absolutely loved it. So I think it's just such a positive, fun, enjoyable thing that everyone bonds over. Yeah. So yeah, it's awesome.
That's such an incredible experience to offer your family as well. That's
absolutely
very cool. You mentioned before about your side of the yin and yang kind of being more the brand and the marketing and the scaling. So what was sort of the decision-making process from being sort of the one studio in Geelong, shout out to my hometown, and then deciding to now, I think maybe at 10, 12 studios?
Yeah, 10, 11, it'll be 11 on the weekend when
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, again, it was quite organic to start with. I guess our Geelong business was just really prospering and we couldn't keep up with the demand. So we'd moved from one location to another, into a bigger location. Then we opened another location in Geelong. So it was just very demand driven. And then we opened Torquay. I guess for us, probably the turning point was opening our first Melbourne studio, which is in Balaclava, which is a relatively small studio. And I think for us, whenever we've talk about expanding, it's been about, we've both been very driven and ambitious. And so we know we've always wanted to grow, but then we've always done it for a lifestyle reason, and family is so important to us, and to have time with family and to travel. So we always ask ourselves, like, can we do this and still achieve our personal, the things we want to achieve in our personal life? So Balaclava was probably the first true test of, like, let's open a studio in Melbourne and just see how that goes. Managing it from living in Torquay. And yeah, look, at just Balaclava was like a crazy experience because the studio was full within a few months, and we found it like pretty easy to manage, the same systems and processes that we had in our other studios. So I guess that gave us confidence then to go bigger into Melbourne. And then we've, since then opened numerous Melbourne studios. So yeah, I think it's kind of been a little bit organic, and then, I guess just building a team of people who can help us to scale, because, that's what it takes, is a team of, talented people around us to enable us to scale.
Yeah, I think that's such helpful advice, isn't it? Just having those checkpoints in your journey to sort of say, hey, is this still serving the original purpose? And is it still
Absolutely.
making, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and no, we do ask ourselves that quite a lot, because it is just really, you can get carried away with, like, once you get into that growth mode, you can just keep going, what's next, what's next, what's next. So I think for us, we, check in on each other to be like,
Yeah.
oh, are you happy? Are we both happy? Is this what we want to keep doing? And if it's not, like, what changes do we need to make to allow us to have the life that we
Mm.
want to create?
Yeah.
And acknowledging that there's just times in the business where you are 100% all in on business, and family takes a bit of a hit, and other times where you're all in on being a mum, and just leaning into what you need to be in any given moment, I guess. It's never balanced. We don't strive for balance, and I
Yeah.
think it kind of sets you up to fail.
Yeah.
Just know that it's kind of ebbs and flows between where you need to put your priorities.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And I love the point you made around you can kind of get carried away with that growth. And I think we could all do that in different parts of our lives. I know that I mentioned some data offline that you might like to share around where the Upstate Geelong studio, that original studio, is sitting in terms of rankings. And that I think is such a good coup to what you're doing in terms of focusing on, the original as well
Yeah.
as the growth and all the new studios to come.
Yeah, so MindBody shared some data with us that some data they hadn't actually looked at for a little while, but they were looking at, just with the rise of Pilates globally, they wanted to look at global bookings for group Pilates classes. And they ranked the top 10 studios globally for the highest amount of bookings. And Upstate Geelong was number 1, and Upstate Fitzroy was number 2, and Torquay was 3, and I think Balaclava was 7. So we had 4 in the top 10. And I think they were like, what is this studio in Australia? Where are these? What is Upstate Geelong? So they ran the data a couple of times, they said, because they were like, hang on, how can this be right?
Double check.
Yeah, but I mean, they did preface it to say, though, there's definitely some Pilates is just having such tremendous growth that they're like, every time they run the data, that there's people starting to nip at our heels in the US. But for now, we've got 4 out of the top 10 in globally, which is just insane when I do think back to where we started and how we started, and it has been quite organic. But I think we just feel super grateful that we loved instructing from the day we started, and we love building community, and it's so close to our heart as our mission about helping people create an up state of mind. And
Yeah.
I think that we just like it's our team and just the community that kind of really push us along to keep going, and keep doing as best we can.
That's it. That's awesome. And I wanted to chat a bit about that as well, the team that you've created, because I think something that Upstate does that's quite unique in the industry is offer full-time working opportunities for Pilates professionals.
Yeah. No, and this one's I guess coming not from fitness. We didn't really understand how instructors were employed. And so, when we first opened our first studio, we virtually were teaching all the classes to start with. And then as we started to, hire instructors, most were either casual or contractor. And we were like, okay, well, that's interesting. I guess, the reality is, to be full-time, you can't just teach a lot of classes. It's too physically demanding. But as a casual contractor, how are you getting, sick leave and annual leave and maternity leave? So when we did start to sort of grow the business, probably one of our very first instructors who was full-time, we sat down to talk about, our growth plans, and she, sort of indicated that she'd probably at some point need to get work somewhere else, because she wanted to take, have maternity leave and sick leave. And we were like, hang on a second, like, just work full-time for us, but once you've kind of summed, you work out, well, really someone can't instruct all the time. They need other roles in the business. So we sort of we don't really want to stay in an industry where we can't support females in their career pathway. We have to find a way that we can make this work. So yeah, sort of since then, we've really been on a mission to find other roles for instructors in our team, whether that's been in customer service or in events, retreats, marketing, sequence trainers. So yeah, I think we've gone from pre-COVID, I think we had 4 or 5 full-time. We've now got 50 full-time.
Wow.
And 250 instructors. So that's definitely a big part of our mission, is to create these opportunities. And I think as we've started to scale, a lot of people have said to us, the biggest challenge you'll find is people.
Yeah.
And it's not the case. Like, it has been the complete opposite for us. People have been, we've got a wait list for instructors to join our team. I think because we're offering a lot of training, mentoring and career progression, and trying to pay as well as we can, we're attracting just an awesome team of people who want to come on the journey with us, which is so exciting.
So exciting. And you're right. I think that I do hear that, speaking to other business owners, that people can be a big challenge point. It's really incredible to hear how you've made that actually just one of the most beautiful parts of your whole journey. And so nice to hear the paying it forward, to know that you started a business when you and Sherelle were going through starting families, and being able to pay that forward to other women is very, very special.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great because, for us, some of our most senior managers now, they all started as, our Lenny, who's our communications and marketing manager. She started as an instructor and in customer service, and just has every year gone into another role. And we've got other team members who started in customer service, and they're now senior managers, the highest members in our leadership team. So, we want to take people on the journey with us, and, they've got staff who've now been with us for years, and it's just awesome to share that with them and share the growth with them.
That's very cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for creating those opportunities for the industry. A little bit of a different tack now. I wanted to ask a little bit more about your choice of investment partner, and to kind of kick into that growth mode and that scaling that you talked about. I know you said a lot of that's been organic, but also there was a journey there in identifying an investment partner. Could you share a little more about that process?
Yeah. So, look, I guess once we knew we kind of wanted to keep scaling, we were having lots of conversations with each other, Sherelle and I, just about like what pathway do we take to scale? Because the obvious one in the fitness industry is to franchise. And we did meet with franchise lawyers and consultants, and we looked up worked through models of what that might look like. And we decided we really didn't want to go down that path. It is an easier path in terms of being able to open up a lot of studios, because the franchisees are paying for that. However, the 2 biggest things that we held most important to us were, one was the brand, the culture, but also for these career pathways, which we wouldn't be able to build a big internal team without being corporately owned. So we decided to not go down that path, which then didn't leave that many options, to be honest, of like, how can you open these studios that cost a lot of money? So look, we looked at a few different options, and Cottonon actually came to us, which was unexpected. But a lot of the owners of Cottonon practiced at Geelong Studio for a number of years, so we had a relationship there. And they put something on the table to us, which just, I guess, through a lot of conversation, the main thing that sealed the deal, I guess, was getting on the same page of that mission. Because I think if anyone looked at our profit and loss, there's a hell of a lot that goes into the staffing and the training and the development of our team, more so than most fitness studios, certainly sort of the franchise model. And we needed a partner that was going to support how we wanted to build our team. And once they came on board with that, we kind of were all systems go.
So great. That's fantastic. And another Geelong brand, which that's so a really good true to 100%. Hometown and values.
That's right. Absolutely. And, I think for Cottonon as well, like, they really want to support, Geelong businesses. So I think the story of how we'd grown and keeping our base in Geelong was really important to them. Great partner.
Love that. And was the partnership with Cottonon part of the catalyst for Upstate Sport, the apparel brand?
Yeah, well, actually, we started Upstate Sport before that discussion had taken place, but it probably led to building the relationship and working with them for a period of time. So we started Upstate Sport in during COVID.
Mhm.
And I think, to be honest, it was just like Sherelle and I needed to keep our minds busy and a little bit distracted from what was going on. And, we sort of thought, let's like try and create another income stream while our studios are closed.
Mhm.
And the Cottonon team helped us find all the manufacturers and helped us through the design. So I guess the development of Upstate Sport was supported by Cottonon just in a relationship sense. And then as we brought them on as an investor, they're now fully doing all the design and manufacturing. So that's epic for us.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
It's such a different sort of move. I think, you see different brands kind of dabble in apparel, but to create a whole sort of sub-brand is pretty unique.
Yeah.
And that leads me to another question around how boxing became part of the Upstate offering.
Yeah, well, look, I think for us, Sherelle and I have always, like, one of the things we've loved in the business is like continuing to evolve the classes. And like when I look back over those years, they've evolved so much, it's insane. And we have really enjoyed that part of like our role. And so boxing, look, we pretty much we try and get to other studios and head to the States and just see what else is coming up. And again, we've lent into what we've really enjoyed. And the boxing was a bit random because we did some boxing classes in the US, and I can really remember walking to go to that class and just was not up for it. I'm like, well, I'm going to boxing. And just had this most amazing class experience and sort of kept coming back into my mind for years. And I think for us, we've always wanted to add other modalities, but wanted them to be, I guess, based on a fitness modality that's been around for a long time. So like yoga, Pilates, boxing, been around for hundreds of years and have like well documented on their benefits as modalities of fitness. But looking at how we can teach those in a different way. So boxing sort of ticked that box for us because it was like, we know it's so good for you, cardiovascular fitness, upper body strength. So it ticked all the boxes of the like traditional fitness genre. But in Australia, we're like being taught not in a very accessible way. So I guess we saw it, not dissimilar to what we've done with, some of our Pilates classes, is taken kind of a very traditional modality and then really tried to teach it in a fun, modern, accessible, welcoming way. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. I can attest to the upper body strength. You sort of do a Pilates class and you're holding planks and you're feeling pretty good, and then you do an upstate box class and you realize that you probably need a little bit more work on the shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I do one, I'm always surprised. Yeah, like
Fantastic. I know that we were chatting as well, and you mentioned South Melbourne's opening this weekend, which is so exciting. There's other studios in the pipeline, which is incredible. For a lot of our alumni, Unite Health alumni, and many who are here with us tonight, the dream is to one day open their own studio and like you have, sort of make that mark and put their own stamp and flavor on Pilates. Having opened sort of 10 studios and counting yourself, what's the sort of biggest lesson you've learned out of that process?
Yeah, look, 100% I would say finding the right property. The location, it is so important. And just the whole process of that fit out and the permitting and everything else that you need to go through. That's probably the most challenging part of scaling, especially the size of the studios that we're opening. A lot of studios that, single Pilates studios are a lot smaller than some of ours. So for us, that's been the most challenging thing. But I think location and getting the right lease is so critical. And like we've had over the years so many of our instructors who have wanted to, open studios, and I'm always like, just if you're looking at a deal you're about to sign, I'm so happy to give you feedback on and happy to pass that to anyone who's listening too, because I think that's a big thing, because once you sign that lease, you're often locked in for a long time. And if you get a bad deal, it can be really hard to fight your way out of that. So I think the right location that's, right from a consumer point of view. Just things like we're always looking at our locations, making sure that they're like, for that instructor who turns up to teach at 5:30 in the morning, are they going to feel safe? What's the light like? Like just all the little things as well that your whole team will appreciate about a site and the consumer, and then just getting the financials right as well. Because definitely speaking to some other studio owners over the years, some of them just had awesome businesses, but such a bad deal on the property that it's just been very hard to be financially viable. So really critical to get that right. That'd be my biggest
Such
thing.
great advice, isn't it? Because I think it can sort of be really exciting and tempting maybe to get excited about finally finding somewhere, but then
100%.
kind of that due diligence and that back
And look,
end.
we've nearly done that ourselves, because you do get excited. You find somewhere and you think this is awesome. And you can talk yourself into like, oh, I'll make this work. But, sometimes you do have to say no to a great property if it's not the right deal. So, and I think just sort of, the boring parts of the business, unfortunately, you have to do due diligence of like having that financial plan. Like, it breaks my heart to see, startups that, a year down the track have failed financially. Even if it was the best studio and the best class experience, you really have to make sure that, your cash flow and your P&L are sound. And if it's not your forte to do that, just work with someone who can give you a hand to crunch the numbers. Because at the end of the day, you've got to be financially viable. And I think, I am a bit of a feminist as well. I think there's a lot of female studio owners out there, and I want everyone to be successful. And, it's heartbreaking to invest so much of your money and it not pan out. So I think that's, just doing that due diligence. And as I said, if anyone, always happy to have a chat with people about stuff like that, because, I want everyone to succeed in our business. There's room for lots of us. So
yes,
that's the most critical thing, I think.
That's so generous. I'm sure there'll be plenty of takers for that offer. But such great advice. I can't believe we're already nearly out of time, but I wanted to, just before I wrap things up and offer our attendees a couple of special offers, I just wanted to ask what's next for Upstate. Can you give us a little peek into sort of what the next
we're
12 months
actually
like?
pretty keen to get interstate. So all our growth has been in Victoria, and we did that, strategically, I guess, because we wanted to like push ourselves to get as big as we could in Victoria, and again, just see how it felt to manage that growth, and how we felt about managing, a team that big now with 50 staff and 250 instructors, and like, do we still enjoy it, or is it starting to be cracks in the team, or what's that look like to grow as big as we could? So we've got South Melbourne, Richmond, Elsternwick all to open this year in Victoria, and then we're keen to get interstate.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh, that's going to be very welcome news, I'm sure, to a lot of our interstate alumni. Gail, this has been such an inspiring and insightful chat. Just thank you so much for making the time to join us and for being so candid with your insights. Just for those that are attending tonight, if this chat has inspired you to make your own mark in the Pilates industry, I've just got a couple of offers to share with you. Make sure that you subscribe to our Unite Health emails. If you're looking to start your journey in Pilates with Australia's #1 Pilates education provider, you can book a time to chat with our team. I think our wonderful course expert Clem has just popped a little note in the Q&A there. And you can even receive a cheeky extra $200 off if you mention the Pillow Talk webinar. And if you're already in the industry, still please reach out and chat with our team. We have so many upskilling courses on offer just to help you level up even further. And we also share career opportunities exclusively to our alumni. So at the end of every month, we'll send you an email with a roundup of all the Pilates teaching opportunities in your state, of course, including opportunities with studios like Upstate, and our huge range of studio partners across the country. And Gail, you've also very generously offered webinar attendees to get 50% off. Thank you so much. 50% off Upstate's 30-day intro offer using the promo code community. For those who have attended, we'll actually send you an email tonight or tomorrow, just so you've got that info and you can sign up. We'll also send you a recording of tonight's episode. So if you know anyone that might like to watch it, please feel free to forward it on. But thank you so much again, Gail. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Awesome to chat. And, it's great that we've got, businesses like yourself, trainings like yourself, like Unite Health, just really leading the way and inspiring the community and the level of education like that wasn't around, years ago when I first started doing my training. So, awesome to bring the community together like you have at this event. So well done to you guys.
Thank you so much, Gail. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. Watch this space. We're going to reveal our special guest for episode 2, which is only a couple of weeks away. But thanks so much. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.